Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a LeBron James with no regard for human life. 12 seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up, what up? Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name is Nick Engvall, and I'm with my guys, Robbie and Rohit, to talk about some sneaker releases. Going to be a short episode, I think, but who knows? We got a lot to talk about. But first, how you guys doing?
Go ahead, Rohit.
No, I was just going to say, I was going to give it to the Mr. Worldwide, Robbie Falchi. And I've butchered your name again, much like you butchered all these personal mileage records, because every time I look up in your Instagram story, you're in a different time zone. How are you? When did you get back?
I'm good. Just today, what's funny is I had to Google. I realized Nick said R and R with our names, and we're Rich and Rare. That's the whiskey I was thinking of. Very cheap Canadian whiskey, but rich and rare.
See, I thought if Nick wanted to go by Rick Engvall in this episode, we could do the RRR, because that's the Netflix movie everybody's asking me about, because I think I'm senior Indian correspondent in a lot of people's lives. I haven't seen the movie yet, but maybe this weekend.
Well, my dad's name just happens to be Rick. Well, Richard,
Oh,
but he goes
perfect.
by Rick. So,
Woo!
oh man. Well, do we have any reviews? We haven't read one in a while. I don't know if we actually have any to look at, but
The last one I see on our Apple Podcast page is from Sawyer40 on April 18th. Apologies if this is read. We're just going to read it. The podcast makes me happy. So much of life is about vibes, and this podcast and the community surrounding it cultivate a welcoming center for ideas and experiences. I look forward to every episode. I've been dealing with some stuff recently in life, and hearing these good conversations has really improved my own vibrations. Thanks to Nick and the gang. Sawyer, I hope you're in a much better place now, because this was written in April, and I think we're in July now, if my month math is correct. But thanks for being a fan. Thank you for listening. If you're a member of our Discord, say hi to us. We just want to make sure you're doing good, or well, if you're an English teacher.
likewise, thank you, Sawyer, and definitely hop in the Discord, check in. Let's see. Let's make sure everybody's all good.
100%. And if we haven't had a review since April, maybe we need to change that. So if you're listening, first time, returning, whatever type of listener, make sure you drop a review.
Yeah, would be much appreciated. All right, so we're going to start it off with some rockin' and coppin'?
Yeah. Rohit's already going for the box. I can hear the paper going, so why don't you go ahead and share?
I'm the noisy kid in the kindergarten class who can't control himself during hide and seek. So quick cop, the cannon. I was trying to do it like the DJ Drama mixtape. I can't do it that well, but these were a shoe. Saw them on StockX, liked the price of them, so I went for it. And yeah, these are pretty fire. Pardon the bad pun. And as for what I've been rocking, it's the Monarch lifestyle from now until infinity. So thank you to my daughter Sani for allowing me to join that exclusive club.
Are those the OG LeBron 9 cannons?
I believe so. I didn't think that they retroed because I would have waited for the retro if I knew it was on the horizon.
I didn't think it was retro. It might. Who knows? But very good pickup. I used to own that one of my favorite shoes to own from the LeBron line. Personally, like Rohit said, I've been traveling a lot. The Beatnik has been the plain companion choice. Today was just a horrible travel. Like there was baby took a poop multiple times in front of us. And I like threw like the toy over. I'm not like a grump, but it's like, man, this baby did not want to be on this plane. I was front row seat to just that shit show, literally. A lot going on. But came back to some sweet, awesome mail. So for my copping, it's actually these really, really good Chuck Taylors. They're adorable. It's from Sky High Farm, which is based in the Hudson Valley. They're a group that grows and distributes food to those who need fresh food, help with education. They have like a clothing brand that helps support what they do. This is their logo for that. And it's like kind of my vibes. It's like low-key sexual, like that strawberry and that moon are okay. So that strawberry's making out with the moon. So that strawberry is definitely feeling something. And I'm all here for it. And then we have on the medial side, a little twist on the normal Converse logo, just putting a little smiley face where the Chuck Taylor All-Star is. It says, feed your neighbor, love your neighbor on this side, which is a very important thing to remember. A really cool insole, too. Last part, just with their logo, the Sky High Farm. And that's where, like, that sexual moon and strawberry thing come from. All jokes aside, great pair of Chuck 70s, very well made. Thank you, Converse, for sending them my way. I wear Chuck 70s probably more than any other shoe at this point, and I'm not mad about it. I just need some low tops, man. All these high tops make my sweaty ass feet. But on the bicycle, riding the bike around Portland, I've been loving the fit and the comfort of those. So go pick them up, support something positive. Another great collab. What about you, Nick?
Moon's a gracious lover, I must say.
Yeah.
Very efficient, despite being hands-free. So kudos to you, Moon, for making it work, because that's what love is sometimes, making it work in spite of ourselves.
I don't want to say what drug that strawberry's on, but she's definitely down to be just like felt. So she's on the moon.
Like she's on love. That's the most high-inducing drug that there is. Anyway, speaking of love, Nick Engvall, what are you rocking? What are you copping? You lovely, lovely man.
Actually, Reebok sent over the Iversons, Answer 4.
Gorgeous.
So this colorway, not to be confused with the colorway that's on my shirt that you can get at sittingtreasure.com. I've got a few of them left. But this colorway is one of the few original colorways that I did not get. So thank you, Reebok, for sending these over. I rock them today. They are absolutely one of my favorites. Kind of just one of those shoes that went missing in my life, but I always wanted it. It was one of the shoes that stood out way back in the day because obviously I'm a huge Iverson fan. And during the 2001 finals, he wore those shoes, but they never really were, they were out, but they never made it onto my collection. I just couldn't get them. So that was what I rocked today.
Piggyback.
What?
And say thank you also. I got those from Reebok and never got to show them off either. So double thank you.
They're great. Reebok's been doing really good stuff with the question or the, Iverson line, questions and answers. I think too, it really speaks to like some of the other stuff that's out there right now when you can get you get a shoe and there's like a wow factor of the quality of it compared to some of the other shoes that you get. So, but speaking of sneaker history merch and new pickups, I picked up this pair of Hirachis for the summer that I've been wanting to get for quite some time. It's just one of my favorite colorways of the Hirachi, and it may or may not be some of the merch that we're going to do next. So inspired by this. So keep an eye out for that.
Can we just take like a 15-second rant just to say Reebok gets some flack sometimes for making the same 5-6 shoes over and over again, but those same 5-6 shoes are done extremely well. They're heritage lines and they're fun to wear and they make you happy. Who cares? Make those same 5 or 6 shoes over and over again.
No, they've taken the in and out model where it's like we have 5 items on our menu and we do it almost better than 98% of people on there. And then similar to what we see Nike do in terms of keeping Sue fresh, I think Reebok's done a fantastic job memorializing Allen Iverson for this new generation, and maybe memorializing is too dire of a word, but they've done a really great job of showcasing his ambassador side, if you will, because there's been nobody greater in terms of being a fan from an older era of the newer era of players. So kudos for Reebok to tapping that in, and kudos to Allen Iverson for continuing to be a bright light, in spite of the fact that for so long many people thought he was a thug or a hoodlum or something like that, which is very distressing.
Oh, well said. Well said. Yeah, I can't say enough about where they're at with the Iverson line. I mean, it's as a like super diehard fan who has literally hundreds of questions and answers. It's tough to balance it because like there's just no way I can continue to buy more and more and more and more and more. But I also want to, because every time I get them, the quality is on par with what I would expect from like original stuff. And they're colorways, for the most part, there's a few crazy ones that are just not my style, but the colorways have had like cool storylines. You know, like this one obviously is kind of one of the OG ones, but they came out with those Philadelphia
Eagles
joints that were like, the quality on those is awesome. And you know, that story is, if you were an Iverson fan, to Rohit's point, like he was labeled as a thug because he didn't dress the part the way the league wanted everybody to wear suits, but he was like, he looked like the way we all dressed then, right? It was like baggy jeans, baggy shorts, baggy jerseys, everything to accessorize yourself you possibly could, and a fresh pair of sneakers, you know? So,
well, just when you think about it, every pair of Answer 4s are just on point, like material-wise, more retro. And like LeBron, young LeBron, with his flip phone or Nokia, was also wearing big jerseys, probably a McNabb jersey too. And as they start bringing back LeBron's retros, we're going to see LeBron 2 or a few LeBron 2s come out here in the next year or so. But Nike seems to also be treating his stuff with reverence. There are not too many colorways, not too many crazy ones. There's a couple new LeBron, like the LeBron 9 has a colorway that's 2 or 3 that are still sitting on Nike.com. I almost bought one just to buy it because I like LeBron 9s. But I think the 2 stuff we're going to be seeing is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, Nike's been really, I love that they've been selective about it and a little holding the cards close to the chest towards the line, because I think, as you know, obviously we're all Jordan fans through and through, but like the longer it goes, the further from like the expectation of greatness that you expect from Jordan Brand, especially the retro product. New stuff, and we'll get into this probably in this episode, but new stuff is completely different, right? You've talked about it a lot, Robbie, and I think, you know, we're looking at the 37 dropping again, and we're going to end up having that same conversation about like how like that's really the pinnacle basketball shoe year in, year out. But retro product, because it's become so massive and mainstream, you know, it's they're very selective about what they actually put a lot of effort into keeping up the quality of materials, the supply side, obviously needing enough in the marketplace, all that, which is, you know, there's so many things that go into that. But I just also saw, I guess jumping into the conversations, I also just saw that the Airship is coming back in a bunch of colorways, which, you know, I hope that the quality of those is up to the standard that everyone, you know, they didn't release the white and reds that, you know, kind of were the most famous, but that MJ wore in his first, you know, half season, I guess, basically. But, you know, hopefully they do that justice, because that shoe's been kind of hidden in the archive for so long. I know as the people that care about that shoe get older and older, many of them move out of sneakers completely, and the rest of them are very hesitant to get excited about it, because you just don't want to see the same thing happen that's happened with a lot of the Jordan retros. And, again, circle back, like the LeBron retros so far have been really well done. Most of the colorways have been super on point, even if they were new. And, they've brought back some of the better, I think, colorways anyway as retros to kind of like reinvigorate the whole line. But speaking of LeBron retros, I know you're probably the biggest LeBron fan, Robbie. So I want to speak about the white and gold colorway that just popped up over the last couple of days.
Yeah, there's like a white and gold that's been showing up in Asian markets, and there's also like a Maccabee gold and white that's supposed to be dropping. What's really cool about the LeBron 2, and honestly, every LeBron retro that I've bought, to your point about hoping the airship materials are good, the LeBron materials are good across the board, like above average, not just good. They're expecting you to pay top dollar for these LeBrons, and not at the least, they're providing a great material, makeup across all of the retros. The ship, I noticed in all these photos I'm seeing of like the white and orange and the white and yellow airships, nobody has flash on. Nobody, and which you don't need to take photos with flash on, but like we all know a lot of modern Nikes in white leather have like a really plasticky polyurethane coating on top that just looks like why we talk so heavily about the Answer 4 being really good. Just to kind of compare the two, like Answer 4 materials versus like that GR Nike white leather is night and day. Like you cannot compare the two. And I think the LeBron 2, with it having still traditional leather build, there's that mesh. There's mesh panels, there's leather panels, and then there's laser panels, right? I think some perforated panels around the ankle. But that's going to have to be something where it can't be. And if it is, there's going to be a lot of people who are on the younger side of old heads who were, like you were just describing, kind of more jaded, like maybe they're falling out of love with shoes, or they're very, I would say, picky or particular. Like, right, a Nike head in his late 30s doesn't want to hear about, a cool Adidas coming out. They've made their bed mentally. Like, they want Nike stuff. So, like, somebody really wanting LeBron product, like me, if that leather on those quarter panels are bad, I'm going to be like, shit. Like, I bought this. I love it. I've always, like, the Maccabee colorway is great. I love it. I like so much about it, right? I would buy it either way, even though I have like a rule I'm trying to uphold of buying less gold shoes. Like, there's only so many gold shoes you need in a repertoire. So I think the materials are going to be good. This colorway might be skippable just because, like, the black and red's supposed to be coming, the white and navy. There's going to be a couple drops, right? So buying this first one isn't the most top priority, but I think overall I'm extremely excited about what the 2 is going to be doing. They're going to do a great job handling it. And that airship, I would not hold my breath. Saddens me to say. I think they're going to give the LeBron way more love.
But as they say, a sucker born every minute to buy the GR leather from Nike. That'd be me. Flight 89s, anyone?
Yeah,
White
no,
and
Flight
orange?
89. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I think it is interesting to me that it almost seems, and maybe you guys can decode the method of the madness of how Nike is releasing these different retros, because I think we started off with the 7s, we've gone a little bit into the 8s and 9s, and now we're dipping back into the 2s. And I think it's really unique and kind of strange that they're coming up with this player edition that I didn't think had that much of buzz associated with it. To Robbie's point, I think we saw LeBron wear this during a preseason game against Maccabee or Maccabi Tel Aviv. And yeah, it's a cool shoe, but I think the white gold motif has kind of been done for a little bit, even though I'm a big fan of it. But if this is something that we have to buy in order for them to open the floodgates, I think enough people are going to make the necessary sacrifice to say, yeah, I'll go ahead and buy this, because it's not necessarily buying it for this shoe, it's buying it for the shoes that are bound to come. So the red and blacks, the navies, so.
What's tough about the white and gold thing is I think any of us and most of our listeners have that devil on their shoulder right after the angel says you don't need any white and gold, but the devil says, but damn, that white and gold or black and gold look really good together. Like, there's a reason why they keep doing that. And just like, it's not the most needed colorway, but if it looks good, it looks good. And the two is
absolutely.
a model.
It goes back to the Power Rangers. Everybody wants to be Tommy. Nobody wants to be Billy.
Exactly. I mean, Billy wasn't. I don't know who I wouldn't want to be. I guess being a little boy, the yellow one, like, oh, I don't want to be the yellow or pink.
Trini. It's okay.
Yeah. But the white,
bad for Trini.
Definitely the coolest.
Oh, for sure. And he had the talking sword. But this isn't Power Ranger history. This is sneaker history. So I think we're all looking forward to it. And like you guys had mentioned, this is already available in Asia. So maybe some of our listeners across the seas have a thought of you in terms of, okay, what do we like about this shoe? Is this something you guys can tell us about in terms of the leather quality? Because so much of my recent purchases, to echo Robbie's sentiment, is the fact that other people will tell me, oh, don't bother. The quality on this is so bad, it's not even worth it. Or conversely, I'm surprised they went this nice for this particular style, given the fact that we've always kind of put our retros in seemingly higher quality than the current performance shoes.
One of my favorite shoes I wear almost once a week, the LeBron Palmers. There's a full size run, like every size, sitting on Nike.com right now, which blows my mind because that's like one of the hottest samples ever made. I paid retail. I paid retail and shipping, like from a boutique, because I was like, oh, I missed them on sneakers. I want this shoe so bad, and now they're sitting here. So maybe like not buying the Maccabee right away could lead to maybe finding a good little discount on it, but I'm shook that the LeBron Palmer first-hand testament. It's great. Go buy a pair. If you've never owned a pair of LeBron 9 lows in your life, they are cushiony. They feel great. Man, I can't believe that shoe is every single size is sitting there.
Thank you for that reminder. I will be purchasing on Swoosh. Thank you, Uncle
Yes.
Phil. Thank you, Uncle LeBron.
Yeah, let me get mine. I can return it. I'm kidding. I'm keeping mine. But that's a crazy, crazy good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely co-sign the LeBron 9. That colorway is not for me, but I love that shoe.
It's hard to wear for sure.
Yeah, but so speaking of quality, Nike's dropping a new pair of white on white Air Force One lows that are titled Fresh. I think this month, if I read correctly, and the idea behind them is they're like a premium version. So we talked a lot about the John Elliott Air Force One. I know Robbie has co-signed that many times. I've co-signed it even though I don't own a pair. There's plenty of people, Brandon Edler, Mitch Jacobs, Jacques Slade, everybody, when that shoe came out was like, wow, this is how a luxury Air Force One should be. But the Fresh version I just read today is supposed to be kind of I don't know. Is it not preventative, but like it is sort of, it's supposed to be designed to prevent creases. I don't know. Well, I don't even know what to think about that.
I don't know if this is the same shoe, but in my research before episode, there was another Air Force One with a toothbrush. Did you happen to see, is it the toothbrush one? It says Air Force One since 82 on the side of it. To keep it all clean. It's crazy to me. I have to also admit, I loved, in the past tense, my John Elliott. So things are so heavy. They're beautiful. The construction's great, but they have really heavy metal aglets that click, and they were overall heavy. So I sold them. They went up on eBay and sold very fast last week. So to the departed, thank you for your service. But quality-wise, great. And I think everybody, I got rid of them because I have more than a couple. I think it's a white Air Force One, be it triple white or white with like a black mini, whatever variant. Let's say it's 90% white or more. You just have like Superman like powers. It's like such a crazy feeling, and everybody from Fat Joe to your favorite crazy uncle listener has talked about, oh, you got to keep those crispy or you got to get rid of them at X amount of thing. People are crazy about their Air Force One cleanliness. So I think this motif is kind of a little extra, but just it really is storytelling when it comes to like the lineage of the people who enjoy that model.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I just looked at, so the Fresh version is different. The anniversary edition actually has like Nike Air written out on the heel, and that's the one that comes with the toothbrush. And there's actually, like, to your point about like just like a 10 or 20% color pop, I think there's like 2 or 3 versions of that shoe. I know I saw a blue swoosh version, and I think there was like a burgundy one a while back. But just I remember seeing the toothbrush with those. I mean, I'm obviously not an Air Force One person. Like, only white on whites I wear for the most part are, Question Lows from, I don't know, 2013 or something, which I still have multiple DS pairs. So, but I respect the shoe and the stories and the people behind it. You know, to Robbie's point, there's so many people that like had a huge part in like making that shoe such a cultural phenomenon, and like all the way from the marketing side at, Widening Kennedy through Bobito and, like you said, up until like Fat Joe and honestly, even like, Virgil, and taking that and spinning his version, and then he and Nike and Louis Vuitton creating their version of the white on white. Like there's been so many variations of it. And I think like it's just cool that they're actually celebrating the Air Force One. I know that people were, people can't, like, a brand can't celebrate enough from a consumer perspective, but like you can't possibly celebrate a shoe for 12 months straight. Otherwise you end up with like what happened with the Air Force 25, and you get all these like shoes that people just didn't care for, or they just couldn't afford to buy that many sneakers. So I'm actually happy that it took a little bit longer for them to like roll out and just have like, I guess like a better strategy and a little bit more thought process behind it, but also like leaning into the white on whites, right? You need to have just the like white on whites are the king of all Air Force Ones, no matter who you ask. And there are some great colorways and there's some really cool stories and great collabs, but it's the white on whites, that make it so great across everyone on the planet, basically. So I think it's really cool that they're doing that. And the toothbrush is a cool little accessory. Nice little accoutrement.
Yeah, accoutrement is probably the best way of describing it. One thing I do like, because I am one of those people that will crease a shoe within 5 minutes of wearing it, so this is something that may actually allow me to contemplate buying a fresh, crispy white pair, because, I have to support my fellow statesman Nelly and his Air Force One Opus. But at the same time, it is something to be said about the fact that whenever I think of summer, with all due respect to the LeBron Palmers of the world, the white on white is the shoe of the summer, and you can do so much with it, and it's always going to look clean. So anything to kind of continue that feeling of an extended summer, I'm all for. But yeah, let me see this toothbrush in real time and see how many out of the 4 out of 5 dentists would recommend me wearing this shoe all year round.
Any shoe, right? For the Air Force One in particular, I'd even say like a white pair of Chucks and like a white Superstar is like the white shoes of summer. My white cement Jordan 4s this weekend officially became for the streets, because they got like, the deep leather scuff, white leather, where it's like, oh, even if I clean this, these are now cooked. So they now belong to the streets. We had a good we had a good amount of monogamy.
I was gonna say, for somebody that says they're low key sexy, you're very high key sexy. The way you describe these obituaries for your shoes. I mean, some shoes are meant for the streets, some are meant for the home, and I'm glad you found that distinction for that Jordan white pair.
Thing is, I had to go my first time in Chicago. I had to bring those. I brought Chicago ones. Like, there's 2 obvious names, but the white cements, I didn't just have to like wear them to like dinner. Like I had to like wear them in Chicago and be amongst the other tourists. So, that's basically what it felt like all the time. So just, for the streets, they now belong to the streets. But they're white. I mean, they still look good. It's a white pair of Jordans, but just the white Air Force One, I think it really does give you superpowers.
So last on the list for upcoming releases, the Jordan 37 got unveiled. What do you guys think?
I'm looking forward to seeing it continue to be the best performing shoe we see on a year-to-year basis. As of right now, this initial colorway doesn't intrigue me enough to buy right off the bat in terms of one to rock on the streets, like Robbie had previously mentioned, but the technology behind this is crazy, because, I mean, reading the press release, they've incorporated at least 2 different types of weaves, if I'm reading this correctly, but what do you think, Rob?
It does not look as good as the 36. I'm not going to say it plays any worse or better but I've gotten a couple runs in the 36, and it's like it's a chef's kiss of a shoe, and it passes the real like basketball shoe test when like you see it on TV, then you see it on your own feet, you see it like in the reflection, and like you keep having your eyes catch it, and they feel good. So that's a really hard mark to surpass. I think the 37 heritage, the way they carry it over, isn't really. It's just not as strong as the 36. I think the Zion 2 looks a little bit better than the 37. If we're being 100% honest, it can still be a workout horse. It can still be a great thing. Just the upper, the synthetic area, like where the weave is. It reminds me a lot of like the Addy exoskeleton stuff, right? Like the Addy frame, sprint frame, type of just like mesh composite stuff they were doing. And we don't do that anymore for a reason. It rips super easy. I'm not saying this is going to rip, but just in my experience with something that looks like that, that's the first 5 I got. The outsole looks great, not to just talk everything negative. The hair looking outsole, phenomenal, looks really good, but I'm sure it's going to be a great performance basketball shoe. There's going to be really good PEs of it, but just this launch colorway is like, not as good as the 36 launch.
So it's interesting because like the thing that stuck out for me on the press release was it's Leno weave or something like that is the name of the material on the upper, but it's like it says it's supposed to have like a handmade touch or something, which is just intriguing, I guess. Like I don't know what that means, but it's supposed to be lighter and you know a new technology in that Leno weave. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of translates into other stuff. So the one thing that I kind of wanted to ask you guys is I don't know if I like the 30. I think I like the 36 better. I don't have a pair though. When I get a pair, I definitely will probably try to get a pair of 37s and kind of always do that just because I like comparing and stuff. But each of these models over the past, 7 years has been inspired by the corresponding original release, right? So the 36 was tied to the 6 with colors, with some of the shapes, the design, aesthetic, all that stuff. The 37 is the same. This one is, or one of the colorways that kind of was unveiled is supposed to be the hair colorway, which is like the outsole is an obvious tie to the 7. Do you guys like the 6 or 7 better? And then is it the same for the 36 and 37?
For me, I've always thought the 6 and 7 are a little bit interchangeable in a sense. So in that regard, I don't lean one way in particular from one to the other. Just going off of the initial look, I prefer the 36, but I think to the point both of you have made, a Jordan shoe, especially the current iterations of them, are to be judged on the court. So I have to make sure I do my due diligence and get back on the hardwood and play, let's say, 5 to 10 games in each of them, because I think that's where I'm going to truly make the measure of what this shoe is and what's the better product, because I don't see them as stylish as the 6 and the 7s, despite those homages to it. And I guess the other question I have is there any other homage that we may be missing? Because, yeah, the outsole is as evident as day, but I was wondering if there are any other hidden homages that maybe we stumble upon with newer and newer colorways being released.
I mean, for me, like I need to look closer at it, but the 6 colorways and some of the design stuff, like on the tongue and that,
yeah,
I like the 6 better. So it's kind of natural that I like the 36 better at first glance. With the 37, I mean, there's like the liner and the heel pull like stand out to me, but the rest of the shoe, I thought it was really interesting that the pictures that were released were very almost like they were almost like hiding the full design of the shoe in a sense. Like maybe they're really early samples and they didn't want to like expose everything about them, because it definitely doesn't give like that traditional side profile, quarter view, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, hey, this is coming soon. Here's the press release. Here's some beauty, like shots that are, you know, very beautiful photos and super creative, but they're almost very like elusive in like revealing the shoe. And I think that's a really interesting approach, because I know that's a part, like making these like kind of like super either zoomed in or very specific shots is always a part of the thinking, the marketing, the strategy, et cetera. But it's really interesting to kind of see that now and think, well, I don't remember a shoe being unveiled like this. And maybe I'm off. If I am, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not something I remember significantly from another release, right? Of like being so kind of veiled in its press release, I guess.
I don't remember it either. And to kind of answer the questions in the room, I like the 7 more than the 6. I think the 7's infinitely more comfortable to wear than the pair of Jordan 6s. 6s are extremely stiff. But I like the 36 more. To all of that, and talking of colorways and will they bring it back or like repurpose, the 35 dropped with the anti-gravity machine nickname, and that tied into like, you know, oh, Michael Jordan jumps so high, it's like he has anti-gravity machine, you know, so like they can use like indirect direct ways of, you know, tying in a shoe. But this, I can't think of a Jordan either. I think maybe the 28, because, you know, nobody liked that shroud the first time. They recalled some 38 colorways before, like they dropped and they took them back off the shelves right away. I don't know. What I do know is that I'm very interested in this double stacked 4-foot Zoom Air Strobel and the 37. That sounds really cool. But colorways wise, yeah, 36 wins, and we'll have to see. LeBron 2 wins, honestly, of all of the shoes we've talked about. I think LeBron 2 is going to have some crazy colorways.
That was going to be my closing question. So how about you, Rohit? Which out of the shoes that we've talked about is the must-have?
I think it's the LeBron 2, just because of the fact that it's unique. It's not necessarily one of the upper echelon LeBron shoes, but it tells that story in terms of, okay, we're kind of emptying the vault. And I mentioned this earlier, but it's the possibility of the vault opening and a lot of the content's dropping out. So I think the LeBron 2 is the clear winner out of the 3 we discussed about today.
Yeah, I think for me too, like the LeBron 2, not necessarily the white and gold, gold and white colorways, but I'm really curious to see what else comes. You know, like the navy kind of USA colorway. I like the lasering on the LeBron 2 a lot, and I think that it's really interesting that they chose the 2, kind of to your point earlier, Rohit. The strategy of like retros and stuff is really interesting, and I hope that someday LeBron comes out and is like, this is actually the order that I love these shoes the most in, and that's why they came out this way. Because I feel like there's some like interesting reason for all of this, right? If you look at the LeBron line, you know, clearly the Zoom generation was kind of like the priority, which, you know, like getting to be a part of that launch in my career was amazing. And then like to go to like the 8 and the 9, which arguably are some of the most comfortable basketball shoes, period, right? Like, and even off the court, like the comfort is like it's a shoe you could throw on and wear every day. I think it's really interesting, and I would love to hear like the real reasons why they're going in these orders and bouncing around. But I love it, and it also keeps us on our toes, right? It's like, oh, is that coming? You know, like, are we going to get into the Soldier line? Like, what else is coming? You know, like, let's see what else is coming down the road, because I think the LeBron line, you know, he's 20 years deep now. There's so many to pull out of that catalog that is going to excite us for very specific moments in his career that, you know, no other player has that. Not even MJ, not even Iverson, you know, like it's 20 years worth of great shoes. And yeah,
20 years worth of great shoes. You also have the Warrior line. You also have the PS line. Like, he is a shrewd marketer. Like, that's one thing LeBron has always kind of done well that even Jordan has to applaud, where he's able to differentiate these products enough that they feel like they're their own living, breathing line. But then, to your point, we have a buffet. So if you are Team LeBron, let's say, in terms of Team Jordan, there is a depth to that pool that I don't even think MJ has, if we're being honest, because the 20s are kind of meh, like a lot of us in our 20s. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. All right, well, that's a great conversation. What do you want to see next from the LeBron line? Are you grabbing the 2s? How do you feel about the 36s? How many pairs of Air Force Ones are you going to pick up for the anniversary this year? Let us know in the comments. Let them know how they can find you on other platforms.
You can find me on Instagram at Rohit. Oh, God, dagnabbit. Cut. You can find me on Instagram at RohitM13. You can find me on Twitter at Roheezy. You can find me at Sneaker History. You can find me at Exhaust Notes. Holler at your boy.
I think you're on mute.
Robbie.
Yeah, you can hear me talking to myself at RAHBEE702 on just Instagram. I deleted Twitter, so only one.
That's why you're looking healthier. There's a glow about you, Robbie, that I was going to ask you if that was the travel, but I clearly know it's you giving the finger to Elon Musk. So I'm very jealous that you're able to do that.
Nah, it's all the eating. Nick, where can they find you?
Well, I actually took about a month plus off of Twitter and just popped back on today. So you can find me at Nick Engvall on all the platforms. More importantly, follow at Sneaker History everywhere, but hit that link in the first link in the description to join us on the Discord and have a conversation with the rest of the community. It is my favorite place on the internet, so you're going to have some great conversation and meet some great people. Thanks all for watching, listening, tuning in. Leave us a review if you haven't, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace. Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.